I've never even walked on a runway, so it was pretty surreal to open the Sports Illustrated runway show, and I had to pull out a split because it felt right.
Your life has drastically changed in the last couple of months. You walked away from gymnastics after what, 20 years? There, that's a significant amount of time. So I want to ask you, like, what are the emotional stages of going through a retirement that most people don't talk about?
I think the transition from being a D1 athlete, any sport, to no longer doing your, passion, I think that is a very hard transition. But for me, luckily, I had a lot of obligations outside of gymnastics. So, even working with brands like Invisalign or, being able to do these red carpets or runway shows, I think it's kind of been a good transition for me, but it's definitely weird not having that part of my life anymore. Gymnastics consumed so much of my childhood. So to no longer do it anymore is crazy. It really is. But I may not be doing gymnastics anymore, but the gymnastics will never leave me. I will always be a gymnast at heart.
Okay, okay. Let me ask you this: what do you miss most about being on the mat?
I would definitely say my teammates. Um, when I got to LSU, I had never really been on a team because I had just competed with Team USA my whole childhood. So it was very individual, my childhood. And then I got to LSU, got on a team. It was so much fun. And it was like a sisterhood. And yeah, I think those girls will be my sisters for pretty much the rest of my life. I text them every day. And I think that'll be the hardest part about not being a gymnast anymore.
Okay, okay. Let me ask you about you have Hesley Rivera, who's come back to LSU now that you kind of stepped out of that limelight. Do you feel like it's in good hands with Hesley? Like, have you had conversations with her about that?
Ooh, I love Hesley. I used to train with her in New Jersey. She's actually a childhood friend of mine. And we were trained together when I was probably like 12 and she was like 7 or 8. She was so little and she's always been so talented. I definitely tried to get her to be a tiger. I was, come on, you're you're a tiger. We like purple. But she is a great person, great athlete. And I think that LSU gymnastics is in good hands with her coming and joining the program. She is an incredible person.
Okay, awesome. All right, so let's switch gears a little bit. Want to ask you about NIL. You've had such a significant impact in that space. So, in your opinion, like, do you believe the NIL system is good as it currently stands in supporting like women athletes, or are there recommendations that you would make, to the current system?
You know what? NIL, that world is constantly evolving. I think that no matter what, I will always advocate for women's sports. I started a fund at LSU called the Livvy Fund, and it's to help provide NIL deals for female athletes. And I'm going to continue doing that. And I think that's part of my legacy as a college athlete at LSU. And I would love to keep providing NIL deals and help educating women on, working with brands and getting those deals because it's definitely more difficult as a female athlete to get NIL. And for most men's athletes, they're being paid to play, some of the top NIL earners, and that's not the case for women. Like me, I did brand deals. I worked with brands to get the revenue. So to help women, educate them, help them get deals, help them be the bosses of their own life, I think that's so important.
Okay, okay. I dig that. I dig that. Okay, let's do some fun questions for you. So obviously we've got Summer Olympics coming up in a couple of years, 2028, but I wanted to ask you about a friend of yours, Simone Biles. There's been a lot of conversation about will she or will she not be at those Olympics, but I wanted to ask you from your perspective, what do you think an accomplishment would mean, for her to actually compete in those Olympics?
I think she's already so accomplished. So she's been the GOAT in my eyes. She is the GOAT. And I think if she goes to LA, it's going to be her second victory lap. She definitely could do it. I'm not sure if it's in the cards for her. I don't know if she wants to, but she's the best gymnast of all time, and I have nothing but respect for her as an athlete and as a person.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, so let's ask you about some recent things. So we've been doing a little bit of digging, of course, and we saw that you had a couple things going on. So you had a Sports Illustrated swimsuit cover, and I got to ask you, what sort of positive affirmations were you saying to yourself when you're on your knees, a fractured knee at that, to get yourself to be in the zone for those photos?
I had no choice but to be in the zone because I was actually in at the end of my gymnastics season, and we had a day off after the Auburn gymnastics meet that we competed at. I flew right to Bermuda, did the photo shoot on a fractured kneecap. Didn't know I was shooting for a cover. They hadn't told me. So I was just doing a normal shoot. Took some, pain medicine for my knee. And yeah, it was really fun. I love working with Sports Illustrated. They make me feel confident. I smiled. My smile makes me feel confident during my photo shoots. And even if I get nervous, my default is to go back to a smile, take a deep breath, smile, get the shot I need. And I flew back to school and I was told that I got a cover. And it was pretty crazy. It all happened so fast. And I was so excited.
I bet. I bet. Okay. All right. Last couple questions from me. I do have to ask about this split that you pulled out at the Sports Illustrated like runway. Like, who triple dog dared you to do that? Like, was that something that someone was like, "Yeah, you got to do this," or was this just like, "All right, I'm hitting this in the moment right now"?
Well, I tweeted that I got triple dog dared, which was it was just a joke, but it was funny because it was pretty spur of the moment. We had a rehearsal and I, we did the walkthrough, we did the rehearsal of the runway show, and I did not do a split. And I kind of just thought of it while I was laying on the beach and I consulted with my sister and I did it. I just had to do it. It felt right in the moment, and it was fun. Sports Illustrated is a fun brand to work with. They made me feel so confident. It was the most fun runway show ever. It was my only one I've ever been to, but I had a blast. They had me open the show, which I have never even walked on a runway, so it was pretty surreal to open the Sports Illustrated runway show, and I had to pull out a split because it felt right.
Okay. All right. Last question. So we know gymnastics is not his specialty, but we got to ask you: is there a move that you think Paul could pull off?
Ooh. I think I think Paul could be a good bar swinger because of how tall he is. His lines would be beautiful. I don't really think that he could do any specific skill because he's too scared of getting hurt. But I think he could be good at swinging bars. I think that he would have a very nice line.
Okay. All right. And on the opposite end, is there a pitch that you know that you could pull off on a baseball field?
Yeah, a splinker. I taught him that in the off season. I'm kidding. I didn't teach him that, but I think I could do it.